Hello and welcome to another weekly update. It's Sunday, this September the 10th, after the market closed on September the 8th. I'm actually in central Florida, so just getting this transmission in before the hurricane hits. Hopefully it doesn't lose power outage, but apologies in advance of email and no reply, but nothing I can do about it. So here's where the market is right now, and the long-term trend remains intact despite it breaking down a little bit and thinking it wouldn't. Still a bull market. And by the way, of course, this is where we look at the overall big picture, long-term, short-term. Stock market affects everything. It's important to know whether you're in a bull market or bear market, so your lifetime savings don't get wiped out in another 2008. So everybody's interested in the stock market, trust me. This is a multi-year chart here, 15, 16, 17. Here we are, the bull market that started back there last November, and that my UPRO system predicted would happen, and in fact would have meant you had increased your wealth at least 75% had you been using that system in under a year with just one trade. Let's draw the trend line. It keeps shifting around. That is where we thought the break had happened, and it's very curious how anything can happen, of course, there's no guarantees, but it looked like that was a pretty clean break. And in a way, it depends how you draw the line, but that you could say a couple of things now. You're going to draw a new line or whatever line, but a strong line is there, and it did break. You could argue this is really just one big pullback here, and it has broken. It still could go down further. It's still looking healthy, but that trend looks like it could have been broken. This is all just part of a pullback, what we saw this last week. Unless you wanted to go ahead and draw, new trend lines. But remember, the longest is the strongest. You could get one in there. If you said that was a trend. So, it just depends on how you drew it. But it definitely looks like it's, not as strong as it was. And you can see that's, okay, let's look at the daily chart now. Day-to-day picture. We can draw that trend line again and see, might get a bit more detail. Something like that, if you wanted to go that way. Which is, still, trend is still intact, unless it was drawn, of course, a different way. So it depends, What we can say, though, is there have been, see these big red bars here this week? That's more selling. If you actually look over the month of August, all the way through, you see some very big red bars sticking out like sore thumbs there. So I keep seeing more and more evidence of, the insiders are slowly pulling out lots of money, people cashing in their chips after what has been an extremely long rally. So long term, we can say, definitely a bull market. Short term, it's a little bit, as you can see by the RSI here, kind of in no man's land, 50% line. It's still an uptrend, but it is weakening. But for now, we've just got to say, bull market, and the short term trend is up, but showing signs of weakness. Speak to you next week.